Characters represent a sort of a transcendent feeling that we all have inside us. That we can be the people that we lionize.
All right, folks, welcome to another Comic Talk. This guy's in the house. Eric's pouring his coffee, and we're going to talk comics because, yeah, you want to check outtakes because you never know what you might find at the end of the videos these days. Which, by the way, Dempsey's giving us pretty cool music. So I've been using it definitely for the outros. Like, I feel like I have to cut it to make it better music for my intros. But Dempsey, it's just rocking, man. We have some so creative people in our circles, man. It's so awesome. We're so blessed. So
rocking into the night.
But you, bro, you were like rocking because you were like doing Star Wars Day stuff, and then I look over and like I read like 55 comic books. I'm like, oh, holy Hannah! So I'm listening to you, like catching me up on all these different things. So I said, you know what, I'm going to reach out because I haven't been doing comic talks. It's hard to get the scheduling thing lined up now with my new schedule. I definitely aren't reading 55 comic books. I got like 6 that I'm reading regularly.
I'm grateful to have a source. For pirated comic books, and it's just because it's just the guys backstage, and we pass around a Dropbox and we peek at it. And then I have a rule that if anything that is above and beyond, I'm going to buy it. I'm going to spend my money on it. I think that's fair. And
even if subpar issues because I'm really all in on Energon books, right? So I'm all in on Transformers and Duke, Cobra Commander, I'm all that. Conan for sure. I've been okay with Thundercats to the point where I'm okay with even having kind of an okay issue. I haven't got any Space Ghost yet, but it's now on the list now. I'm ready to get some Space Ghost.
Well, check your Twitter feed and see if you've been blocked by David P. Post, because you might have. And if that kind of thing influences your spending, then may it. I am blocked by Mr. P. Post for something.
I'm so blocked by so many people. First off, when the two of us are blocked, because I don't think you're a Twitter crazy person, as far as I've seen on your feed. Would it shock you that I'm blocked by everyone from Dan Slott and half of the staff of these two? Me, I don't say anything to anyone about anything, but it's that chain block thing that they all do.
Yeah, they use lists.
So I'm on that list too. I like too many people because I don't have compartments. I'm like, I've followed kind of any of them. I got to be honest. If they're on anything, I would follow them just to kind of see if it's an interesting cover or something they would do. But all right, so before we get to the rabbit hole further, let's talk about some of the good stuff, right? Because you covered so many, and I talk about my little random few that I think are positive. I do rail on one. Yeah, by the way, folks, by the time you're watching this, you've already missed me. Be completely exasperated at Ultimate Spider-Man number 5. I'm just so exasperated at Ultimate.
We'll talk about that. Let's talk about that real quick. Then we can start. Let's start off the show with the worst of the week.
Therapy, right? Therapy. Give Pop some therapy on issue number 5.
This is the floppy version, a serialized version. If you're expecting Marco Cicchetto's wonderful artwork and dynamic fight sequences, you're not going to get this. You're going to get a Jonathan Hickman overload of chatty, and just in these kind of blasé, story moments. And this is all supposed to be building up to something greater, the Ultimates, and how does Harry figure into that along the way? There's no action in this, really.
No Spider-Man. Zero, and I want to make sure that you, Eric, look at the camera. Make sure you back me up. 0 panels of Spider-Man in his red and blue suit. Of like, there's no Spider-Man in my Spider-Man book again. After issue number 4, 0 Spider-Man. Issue number 4, issue number 5, still no Spider-Man. Like
this is all this chit chat with Harry. And
I'm sure that the people that are going to love the book are going to tell us, oh, but see, it ties to Iron Man. We already knew all that. Your mystery box is the size of a Rubik's Cube. We're not nearly as impressed as you think we are. Like, we get it.
I'm bored with the Ultimate stuff already.
I'm so disappointed now.
hmm.
I know people like Gray have enjoyed the Ultimate X-Men. I can't do it. I thought it was garbage from the get-go. It was Peach self-inserting herself into the X-Men universe with no other X-Men. Black Panther didn't make any sense to me because it's supposed to be this place with no superheroes, blah blah blah. Yet he has all the tech, he has a suit, whatever. So I'm like, basically,
Right.
he's just an
Could see that.
isolationist. He's just an isolationist that has no problem with what's going on with all the villains because he has all the tech. Like I'm out.
Hmm.
I'm done now. Issue number 5. I'm sure issue 6 will be this big thing, so we can close out the graphic novel.
Hmm.
Other than that, yeah. Were
Yeah.
you shocked at how bad issue 5 was? Like, you were sort of like, oh, come on, we
No,
didn't.
it's like I have an expectation with Hickman. Hickman's never really satisfied me. So I'm always on guard a little bit with a Hickman story. I know he's really good at his job. He's like an architect, a maestro. He's done some huge stories, especially the Illuminati stuff
Mhm.
and the Avengers stuff. And I guess his Fantastic Four stuff was amazing as well. Pretty big. um, but they always seem to land flat-footed for me, and they're always a bit too talky.
Mhm.
And I was giving him a chance on X-Men, Volume 5, number 1, back in 2019, when that started with Lionel Yu. I loved Lionel Yu's art, and here we have this new direction for the X-Men. It's been about 15 years since I bought them. Let's try it. It might be good. Let's give it a chance. And boom, right away, just it went to pot. And we've been hearing about those stories for 5 years coming out of that X office, Jordan White's X office, about the X Slack, about, all I can hear is Princess Leia and Han Solo fighting in my head. We were not going to do this as a committee. I am not a committee. Well,
Mhm.
here's your committee. And this is why committees kind of
Yeah.
bring things down.
Yeah.
What's an X-Men
I think they
fan?
misunderstand the concept of you do a book and I do a book and we have a summit so that we're not
Mhm.
doing anything that messes each other's books up. The famous story goes back to the 90s when we were youngins enjoying comics, right? In the 90s,
Mhm.
right? They talk about the bat meetings and Danny
Mhm.
O'Neill, he'd have Chuck and Graham and all of them in the same room. They're all in the same room together. Alan
Mhm.
Grant's there. It's like, okay, like they had kind of like the general rules. Denny had his rules on like how we're going to handle the Batverse,
Mhm.
but it wasn't like this committee of decisions like, oh, everybody's going to vote on what we're going to do with Duke or everyone's going to vote. No, that's so stupid. That's why we end up with just vanilla corporate garbage. But this was supposed to be a positive talk. We've already spent 10 minutes and we're not even
We're being
well,
positive because this is um well, it's criticism. We're not being outragey. You don't have to be
true,
outragey to point
true.
things out. You don't have to throw shade or throw hate at creators. Where
No, I
I'm not
don't. I don't.
picking on
Yeah.
Jordan White. I mean, he's got this overwhelming responsibility to produce and a mandated writers' room full of just not just diversity of bodies and humans, but this push in publication to have this marketplace of different magazines for different people. I
Mhm.
mean, that's how
Okay.
I look at it. It's like it's still the magazine the periodical publication industries until and which is dude, check it out. Buy this month's issue of Rolling Stone magazine. It's the last print published Rolling Stone. I don't even like Rolling Stone, but it's fallen really far,
Yeah,
especially
I
when it
can't
comes
do
to
it.
that.
I
But I
can't.
mean,
I'm
it's
out.
going to be the
I
last
know. I
paper
know.
issue.
But I had it every single week for years of my life. I had so many of them that I basically either gave them away or threw some of them away. Like they were just some of them were so rad. I read, and it's like
Hot
now,
issue. I love the hot issue. I was in
yeah.
like middle school. I mean, Robert Downey Jr. is the hot actor of 1987, and they said, "Hey, Robert, what's it like to be hot?" And he said, "Destined to be cold."
Mm.
That's back
Yeah,
when
there were so many,
Rose,
like, those
PJ
best
O'Rourke,
of
and
albums,
Hunter Thompson.
singles, artists,
Yes.
things, and that was, like, your gateway to finding something new that you had never experienced. Entertainment Weekly was the other one, like, I was, like,
Mhm.
all these best of lists of things that maybe I haven't seen before. That's why we love Wizard Magazine. It was like they'd go find some
Mhm.
weird thing, and then, but, now they have to rely on us. We're the new Wizard Magazine, Rolling Stone
Yes.
magazines, Entertainment Weeklies.
The
So, Eric,
coolest.
what is the book that you're reading, the comic book that you're like, I can't wait for the next one, that most people probably are not reading or
It's
no
Local Man by Tim Seeley
local
and Tony
man. Okay.
Fleeks on Image Comics,
Hmm.
and it intersects. It brings up Image Comics 30 years ago, and it's superhero prime, and it has cameos from that age too. But it's like they've invented a new superhero team called Third Generation, and it's a flip book. Literally, you flip it.
It's sideways at some points,
Yeah,
right?
you flip it like this upside down, and there's most of the tale takes place in the now, where our hero or our protagonist is like he's out of a job. He's been kicked out of his superhero team. He can't even use his superhero powers really, or any of his identity, because that's
Yep.
trademarked. That's like
Yeah, the company
and
owns his name. So I remember I reviewed a couple issues here on the channel, folks. I'll make sure I probably put links to Local Man. I didn't stick with it because there was like a gap for some reason for a couple
a
weeks where
little
he didn't
bit,
make
yeah.
its time or something. So then I kind of I forgot about it, and I've heard so many good things. I've been trying to get back, but yeah, he's kind of mocked a little bit about, look at Mr. Superhero guy, and he can't use this thing, and he gets into a confrontation. He uses like a trash can lid because he doesn't,
Yep.
and he's so
And carving
talented.
tools and and,
Yeah.
and a red ski mask, because that's all. And now he's Local Man. Local
Mhm.
Man saves church,
Mhm.
and it's just like it's a really funny spin on superhero comics, and especially that bygone Image days, and with all the sex and the violence and all the biceps and boobs and all and all the over the top poses,
Mhm.
and
And
it's
bright
really
colors
fun.
and a team of
Mm,
all sorts of like crazy figures. Like it was like, there's no one character that's the same, right? You had to have
right. And if
it's like the
you
Avengers worked because people understood Captain America, Iron Man, a Hulk, a lady, a blah, blah. Well, Image was like, okay, let's take that and put them all on steroids.
yeah.
Cool. Okay,
Did
Local
you
Man's
ever
good.
did you
Yeah.
ever read Tim Seeley's Revival?
Mm-mm, mm-mm,
Okay,
no.
it was interesting. It was billed as Midwestern noir, where it's kind of like Twin Peaksy, where you have this creepy town, and then all of a sudden, all these people who had died recently come back to life, and nobody knows why. And they're called the Revival, Reviver, or the Revived. And is it spiritual? Is it there's some supernatural stuff going on? It was good for the first first like 12 issues or so. I kind of fell off of it too, but it's got that same feel Local Man does, when it comes small town with big secrets and lots of shenanigans, and but it's still small town America. And I think it's a really interesting. It's very David Lynch, Twin Peaks. If you like that kind of stuff, and if you like old Image superhero comic books with the modern sense of humor too, it's got a nice twist to it. It's good stuff.
Okay.
I'm
All right.
loving it. Yeah. So
All right.
Local
The
Man. Yeah.
Revival. Okay, we'll put
Are
a
you
pin on this.
sleeping on Local Man? You could be.
You could be. Let
Yeah.
me ask you then again about another one that I'm not up to date on because I read a little bit and then I missed a
Hmm.
couple issues. And I know it's super hot right now. Everyone's saying how great it is, but I'm behind, so I don't know how to
Hmm.
jump in. Are you reading Nottingham, which is basically Robin Hood
Hmm.
plus Game of Thrones?
I read
I
my
don't know
first
how else to
issue
describe it.
last week. That's exactly how I described it too. Um, I love the Robin Hood story. I loved its different interpretations over the many,
Mhm.
many years I've been on this planet. Like my favorite Robin Hood, it's got to be that early 80s BBC show, and where they changed to the blonde haired actor in season 3. You know which one I'm talking about?
No, I don't. I'm not.
Oh,
I'm
this
not.
is
I'm not a
great.
big Robin Hood aficionado.
Oh, Robin of
So
Locksley.
yeah.
It's a really interesting guy. They had a great sheriff of Nottingham, a great guy of Gisborne, great Marion, the Merry Men, and just
Mhm.
like good in a good production. It's like one of my favorites. That the Kevin Costner movie, which is just that's
Yeah.
30 years old now.
Has an accent. Doesn't have an accent. Has an accent. Doesn't have an accent. Get
Yeah,
it? Go ahead.
it was good, and yeah, I checked it out. I checked out for the first time this week at Nottingham at number 12 last week. It's brutal.
Mhm.
I mean, it's just right from the beginning, just like um it's starting a new arc or something. So it's like I walked in knee deep into betrayal and intrigue and just But it's good. You're right. It was very Games of Thronesy. It's a great way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed the first 5 or 6 issues for sure,
Uh-huh.
and then there's a couple issues I didn't have and didn't read yet. So then I'm like, I don't know if I should get in at 12 or I should go back and try to make sure I fill in my gaps first. The art is a little different than what maybe some people are used to. So make sure that if you're not
Hmm.
reading, if you're only into like superhero and tights and capes type books, Nottingham's a little odd for you.
Hmm.
But if
Yeah.
you, again, Game of Thrones type stuff, if you're into anything like that, I think this is something you could definitely look at for sure. Let's just give everybody a little look at, a little bit of 12, not surely a ton, but we'll do a little bit of 12 just to kind of get an idea. This is the cover, guys. This is not like your typical mainstream stuff. So there you go. Yeah. 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 We're not looking at that kind of stuff. And this is the art style. It's a little bit different than what you're used to, but a lot of interesting scale and details and things like that in there, and definitely hardcore for sure. Oh, I lost his mute. You're muted, Eric.
I did. Sorry. I'm used to
Yeah.
doing that on Wes's show. So you don't talk over each other. Just like
Mhm.
you wait for your spot. And like this opening page, this is page 1 of issue 12. And so it's brutal. I mean,
Mhm.
that's Robin of Locksley that he's come back. You know what I mean? And look at that grin. That's the sigil of the Merry Men. They wear these masks with this insane kind of like Joker grin. It's almost to our 21st century palates. It's very memeable. You know, those are the Merry Men. They're smiling, and it's very ironic. But look at this is Robin stringing up 3 of the sheriff's men. And there we see one of the masks of the Merry Men right there as
Mhm.
well. It took me a little bit to figure out what was going on there. And I was like, because I'm new to this show. I'm like, is that like it's it's very Darth Vader like in a way. It's unique. It's imposing. It's scary.
I didn't
Well
know
done.
in the first couple issues. I was like, "Is this who's the good guys and who's the bad guys?" Like it was so well done that I was like, "I'm not
Mm-hmm.
sure." And it's like, but it's Game of Thrones, like you said. The good guys are not always good, and the bad guys do good things. It's beautifully done. It's a really very well done, underrated book. If you're into anything
Mm-hmm.
like that, sounds interesting. Check out Nottingham. By now, Volume 1 in a graphic novel form is probably available.
Mm-hmm.
It's done by Mad Cave, who again,
Mad Cave.
this is that fun new era that we're in where outside of just crowdfunding, a couple of these smaller companies like this are doing some
Mm-hmm.
really cool stuff, and
Yeah.
Mad Cave is definitely one of them for sure. For
Scout
sure.
was doing it for a little while, but sometimes Scout can't land. I mean, if you were tuned into Dust, number 6 has been solicited for like 6 months in a row. I was reading there Oswald and the Star Chaser, and they stopped soliciting that like months ago, but they only came out with 1 and 2 of a 6-issue arc, and I'm like, I was on the fence whether I was going to get 3 or not, but this really made up my mind for me. But I
Hmm.
mean, and they couldn't have just skipped right to a trade paperback. Sometimes I see it's like this illusion of being part of the a periodical publication. Just
Hmm.
because you're
Hmm.
releasing them as a floppy, and you're on this bookshelf in a specialty store. I mean, this could have gone right to trade paperback. You didn't have to release it serialized.
Hmm. I agree.
I feel that this is an illusion of a marketplace in a way.
Yeah, I don't totally get. Maybe they thought the funding would be there. Maybe they thought they were just going to continue to roll along, and that kind of fell
Hmm.
through. People just didn't stick around and order it. I don't know. I don't know for sure. When you look, because again, you went through like so many books in the last week. You're on shows like Aficionado, things like that, because you're digesting a lot more. I think regular month issues, month after month.
Hmm.
What's another good one that you could also like recommend that people could be interested in?
Okay, big 2 superheroes. Everyone is sleeping on G. Willow Wilson's Poison Ivy. It's a Batman book. It has the Batman sigil on its trade dress up in the corner by its issue number. She's got a revolving. G. Willow Wilson's just doing yeoman's work. It's just competent, good in universe use of the action figures. Usually really good art, even with like my personal tastes when it comes to digital finishing techniques, especially onomatopoeia and lettering and just and garish coloring. I mean, still it works because it's very Swamp Thing. It's very Alan Moore's Swamp Thingish. But yeah, I feel like everyone's sleeping on G. Will. We're always bagging on like the Vitas and the Stephanies and the Leahs and the this one and that one, but no one's talking about G. Willow Wilson. She's also doing another a shorter run. I think it's on Boom. It's called the Hunger in the Dusk, and it's about where like the war, like the orcs and the humans finally have to get along at the end of their history because there's a greater threat coming for their land and resources, and they have to team up or face extinction, both of them. So it's just like interesting stuff. G. Willow Wilson. I mean, this is some good stuff, and this is just the usual. This is Pam Isley, Poison Ivy versus Floronic Man, Jason Woodrue. And we've just gone through a 3-issue redefinition of Poison Ivy's origin story. Very far divorced from something such as the, I don't know if you've got this, I've got this for years, but the Batman Writer's Bible from the animated series.
Yep.
And she's got actually a pretty dark origin story. And something like that she was, she's misogynistic she's misandrist for a reason. She hates men because there was an instance of abuse.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it kind of followed. This is the art's really interesting. The story's been, I've been coming back I should be buying this. I really should. Seriously. Because I'm going
to earmark this and run through those 20 issues and give everybody a little rundown and stuff like that. But yeah, if you're looking for something that's just, again, this is kind of hard to believe this is like canon, like it's in line. Because look at the style here. That's similar to when you recommended Incredible Hulk. It kind of like it has a lot of really good issues, good run through like that. You feel like, am I in the right universe? I feel like some things are just like, it doesn't feel like it's in the same flavor and vein, which is what it should do. It should have some things that are different. It's a
great comparison too. I can see that. That's fitting. Like on one hand, we have the Incredible Hulk by Philip Kennedy Johnson and usually Nick Klein, and then over here we have G. Willow Wilson doing something very similar in tone with supernatural, with macabre, with horror tones, and with an interesting B story as well. And then occasionally you have Harley kissing Ivy, and that's cool. You know what I mean? It's just. That's
so overdone for me. I just don't know what to say. Can't do the Harley Quinn thing right now. I'm gonna do a thing on Batman White Knight. I'm gonna revisit that, and there's like 2 Harleys in that, so I'm gonna have double dose of the Harley situation. So yeah, it's okay.
Indeed. Let's see, and I was liking Catwoman as well, and that's written by Teenie Harward. It's called 9 Lives, and it's just part 7 of 10. So she's got a 10-issue arc. It's after Gotham War. So, but Selene is back in purple, and everyone thinks she's dead. So she's got this. She was exposed to some Lazarus pit meteor. Yeah, it's comics. But she's got 9 lives, literally. So she keeps on going on these capers that would that literally get her killed. But she keeps coming back from the dead. And it's interesting, and a lot of it's very well drawn too. I like that. That goes a long way. Stefano Raffaele, he's a name that you should be looking for. He's an Italian kid, but he's got that inherent Italian machismo. I feel that he can draw very pretty ladies with very fine lines, very fashion based, very Milo Manara, who was another Italian, legendary, artist of beautiful women. So Catwoman's pretty good. And over on Marvel, I mean, I might dislike Dan Slott personally, but Spiderboy has been oddly entertaining. If there's one Spider title you can keep your eye on, it could be Spiderboy, because it's a little fun.
It's all this guy. I'm not doing it. So that's all him. I draw the line at Dan Slott.
See, exactly.
But
I'll read it for free. I'm not buying it. Well,
good point. I'll wait till there's a few days. Yeah. The pirate pull, I will do like usually a run through of them, like the Poison
Uh-huh.
Ivy. I wouldn't have bought them, but now that you're recommending them, I'll just sit and just blow through the 20 issues and see. I did that for Star Wars. I ended up not doing a video, but I did went back
Uh-huh.
to the 2015 Star Wars Vader. They bring in Leia. Reread all that. Kind of had a kind of a new, refreshed look at it. I looked at it in so long. I only
Mhm.
own like a couple pieces of it. Variant covers are kind of cool, things like that. And read it again with some fresh eyes. Again, the pirate pull. So we do that with Poison Ivy, that kind of thing. But speaking of
That's
Star
cool.
Wars,
If you like it, let me know what
yeah,
you think. You know what I mean? I'm glad you
yeah,
like
yeah.
the Hulk. You
I didn't
know,
like the Hulk. The fill-in artist thing was too abrupt for me, and there's a couple of meandering issues that just didn't go anywhere.
like
And I thought
yeah.
his use of the weird Ghost Rider thing, I thought was just kind of not fully explained. But I had a good time. It's
Mhm.
not that again, when that's the best of your Marvel books though, or near the top for me, you're doing something wrong. But it was not the worst comic book either. So. But speaking of Star Wars, we'll close out that Star Wars month is coming to an end in May. By the time
Yes.
folks are seeing this, we'll already be in June, but that's okay. You joined me for Star Wars Day, and you had a crazy idea you were talking about over on your channel about. I think I'm going to try to figure out how to get like a nice reader set of all of the OG Star Wars issues, that original Marvel run, that kind
Mm.
of thing.
Yeah, I
What
mean,
what kind of brought that to your spirit, my friend?
my spinner rack, and it's populated with these magazines from my childhood. Basically, a lot of the late bronze, and early copper age. The copper age is literally an age of comic books from 1984 until 1993. I
Mhm.
don't really agree with this definition, yet it's in the glossary of the Overstreet Price Guide. So
Mhm.
at least I can respect that. That's an industry standard. So, the Bronze Age ends with Crisis on Infinite Earths, basically, and so, but that Star Wars is part of that from 1977 to 1986. That's a sweet spot for me personally. That's when I started buying comics off the spinner rack. And so, especially ones that are dear to me are the post Empire Strikes Back stories,
Mhm.
which, like in hindsight, are basically the majority are written by Mary Jo Duffy. They're edited either by Weezy Simonson or Ann Nesenti. And by the end of it, you also have Cynthia Martin doing these amazing pencil works. Like she's the one that has that really tight line work, and it's just amazing stuff. I loved her work, and so there you have like these original women of Star Wars that we never even mentioned.
Yeah. Well,
I
those
love it.
ladies, I mean, a lot of
Yeah,
these folks just skip over Louise and the well, I
yeah.
can't skip Ann Sandy. I'm always trying to give Ann love because she wrote as good of a Daredevil for me as I never missed a beat after Miller. I always had a good time with that. And then, of course, Joe Duffy doesn't get any credit whatsoever. I mean, Catwoman
Right.
and all the stuff she did in the DC universe. I'm like, you guys are just these ladies have been part of our lives the whole time. I don't understand why you're making such a big thing about it. We love these ladies. So
Yeah.
it's a pretty big thing, and I have to admit, I love going back to the OG Star Wars. My favorite issue in the entire run. I still laugh every time I read it. It's the Boba Fett. He gets out of the Sarlacc pit.
Oh
By the end
gosh.
of the issue, they put him back in the Sarlacc pit.
Yeah, and,
It's
and the
so
and the
great.
Jawas mistook him for a droid, so
Oh,
he
it's the
wakes
best.
up in
He's riding
in the
around
sand
in the
crawler.
sand crawler and gets into a conflict with Han, but he's not quite right. He doesn't have
Yeah,
his memories quite right. And I feel like I always laugh because I know, Lucasfilm probably was like, look, if you want him out, he has to stay in the Sarlacc pit. They're like, well, I wonder if we could just ride him out of the Sarlacc pit and just put him back. And that's exactly what they
yeah.
did. They got him out, put him right back in the Sarlacc pit because it's just I always just laugh because I know the politicking and some of the rules and things they were had to kind of like come up with, and certain things
Hmm.
didn't work. They got chastised for that, and then of course, as you said, that latter part is just more like just fun and gun sci-fi stuff. That's just a lot
Yes,
of blast. Just going around the galaxy and having some adventures, man. It's what Star Wars should be. Yeah, I like it.
yeah. Make it fun. Make it fun. Make fiction fun again, please. Oh no, no, it has to be a platform for my activist message. I mean, nobody
No,
wants
we're not
that.
doing
That's
it.
why people take a break from things.
Yes.
You know
Is
what I
there
mean?
any back issues that you go into in your shop, your local shop? You're like, I still have this list of back issues that I'm searching for. There's 4 or 5 things that you're kind of got out there on your list, or how do you approach doing that?
It's all tactile. I know which ones I don't have just by seeing the cover.
Okay.
And there's a whole, I only have 30 of this 107, or maybe, I think it's 109 if you include the 2 annuals.
The annuals, right? Yeah.
Because I mean, I would love to get annual number 2 for the. There's got a Klaus Janson story. It's just he does like I think he does most of the art in that story. So I like his style outside of his inking, like Frank's, breakdowns. I mean, Klaus is just a good artist.
Yeah.
But I mean, just like I'll get rid of some comics. I'll make some space for it. You know what I mean? That's a run. I would love to have a run of those floppies, and even like a reader copy of issues 1 through 6, which are just like those are just very expensive and very fragile too at this point too. These on newsprint, they're like they're gonna be 50 years old before we know it.
Yes, we're getting close. We're getting close.
Getting very close.
Not a lot of hair left from those Star Wars years. But folks, listen, links are all there for this guy. You got to get connected. He's over on Wes's Aficionado show a lot. He's doing a lot of great stuff. An optimistic man, a man who tries to do the positive things way better than I do. So I thought I'd have him on, try to put some sand in the other side of that scale for the comic talk. Hopefully, folks, you've got a little bit out of this. I'll try to make sure I get all those links in there for you guys.
Thank you.
Check Eric out and ask him yourself. Go to his channel. Ask the quote. There's a video like he goes through like 50 books. What do you want from me? Like he did the work. There's no reason to rehash it all here. Let's go over there.
That was just the 1 week. Sometimes there are like 120 this week. This Wednesday, yesterday there was 129 different floppies solicited at that League of Comic Geeks page. Some of them were variant covers. You know what I mean? And
multiple printings, like it'd be like the second printing of something and things like that. But still,
right?
It is sort of like the '90s volume because it's easier to get word out about a lot of the indie stuff that we didn't know about when we were young. So now, because the internet, it's easier for those indie companies and things like that to get on those kind of lists and be kind of the awareness is out there for that. So, but he does a breakdown and a conversation. It's pretty chill about a lot of different stuff. And you guys can ask him questions as well and some things that he's enjoying. So,
just this week, this is
facsimiles.
This is great. Okay,
that John Byrne book is possibly one of my favorites.
This is a Michael Golden book.
The story is so phenomenal.
And but I have a weakness for the Columbia 10-speed racer.
Yeah, I know.
Thing. I've been looking for this. Or just a reader copy. This was a 75-cent comic book in the 50-cent era, right before they went to 60 cents. And this is the first appearance of Rogue. Yep. This is how Rogue got her powers. Because she literally, it opens up with Spider-Woman saving this unidentified blonde woman from drowning, who was just dropped indiscriminately off the Golden Gate Bridge, and it ends up being Carol Danvers without powers and without memory. And Jessica Drew knows who this person is, and she's like, "I can get the X-Men to help." Professor X, go into her mind and try to help her, please. Ads. And look at these old ads.
Mm-hmm.
And look at that Kitty Pryde right there. Look at that Michael Golden artwork. She's very like elf-like. And I see that kind of style again over on Micronauts, which was a contemporary at the same time. And and then here we go. It's Rogue. There's Rogue's first appearance. With her touch, she drained Carol Danvers, and by the end of it. I mean, look at this. This is an ad. This is for Dungeons and Dragons, way back in the TSR days. I mean, seriously, not a safe space a dungeon is.
Facsimile books are fun. Books are fun. I don't totally love them because I don't feel like they're totally identified for normies. I would hate normies to get confused and overpay for something that they shouldn't be. That's my only real issue with it. Is I wish they were a little better identified for those. Some of them are. Some of them are clearly they're designated as such. But they're really capitalizing on that for folks to get more tangible copies.
Michael Golden will be at one of the 2 cons coming up, and I'm going to have him sign this just to put on for my spinner rack with the rest of the Columbia racer.
Anytime I find more of this, I think I've contributed at least 1 or 2 to that library.
You have, thank you. Yes.
try to find more of those and be like, Eric, do you have this one? Do you have that one? Because I would
Great.
definitely,
Oh,
I totally
gosh.
get it. I totally get it. All right, folks. Well, listen, that'll be this comic talk. Hopefully, you guys have found some good stuff in all this conversation. You go over and spend some time with Eric. He can definitely expand that even more so. But thanks for watching, everybody. Till next time, I am Pops. All right, folks. Welcome. We have. Oh, you were gonna chat. Okay.
No,
Wait.
Oh, I'm sorry. I said I like comic books.
Yeah.
We're dedicated to a higher purpose. We're fighters for truth, justice, and the American way. Right.
Pops!
Gotta have my Pops!
Tune into Pops. Let me tell you about the show called